Welcome to Toffee TV. It is the Tuesday topic, joined by Andy and Steve. Andy sorted the microphones out. And we are discussing, is this essentially the right time to sack the manager? And should there be a time scale before you can sack a manager? Has he had long enough, essentially, is what I want to say. So obviously, Everton lost at the weekend to Norwich. We are 18 months into, almost 18 months into a project of Marco Silva and Everton. It doesn't appear to be working. No. You know, we've just lost our 7th game in 13.
1-1 in 9.
You know, 1-1 in 9. 2 in 9.
2 in 9.
2 in 9.
2 in 9, yeah.
You know, in the league. Not good enough. Spent 100 million in the summer. Beaten by the bottom-to-table team that hadn't won away from home and hadn't scored away from home from day one.
All right, Baz, yes, we should sack him.
So, obviously, there's a lot of talk now that the club are about to get rid of the management team. Is this the right time, in your opinion, to get shut?
Yes. Yeah, I was out, what was it, about 6 weeks ago. For me, you have to see some sort of like semblance of what's going to happen going forward. You need to start seeing, you know, even if the team's not, or you haven't got the players, you need to see the shell or the outline of what's going on. And we just still haven't seen it. It's like 16 months, 17 months down the line. Still playing this 4-2-3-1, which completely looks uncomfortable for the players. The players we never seem to be consistent in it. Some games he looks good, some games he look like we've never played with each other. I just don't think Marco's got the ability to be Everton manager. I think the job's actually too big for him. I don't think he's good enough to be Everton manager. I think the club unfortunately chose the wrong man at the time, and we're paying for that, unfortunately. And that you know, I'm not going to get personal with the man. You know, he's obviously tried his best. I guess he has, but it's just not good enough. And the club needs to move on, and it should be looked at why we chose this manager and look to learn lessons from it. And also the fans need to look at what this manager's done and learn lessons from that as well.
Yeah.
Steve?
Yeah, I agree. The time's right now. Saturday proved it with the fan reaction as well. And I was speaking to you before. I think it was probably one of the worst things you've probably heard at Goodison in 40-odd years. I've never heard a set of fans joining in with another set of fans. Which
to sack your own manager, yeah.
They always say, once you lose the fans, unfortunately, it's hard to get back.
Yeah.
Very, very small circumstances it's ever happened. But it was the Sheffield United game for me. And also, part of that Bournemouth game as well. The Bournemouth away performance was pretty horrific as well. Yeah. And then obviously coming back to Goodison, we had Sheffield United, and we've looked at that game pretty similar to Saturday, really. And again, I don't doubt the man. Trying his best. Like, we've had conversations, he's there till 7 o'clock every night, he's trying his best. But sometimes it's just not going to work, is it? He's at this, we're on our third dawn of him nearly meant to be getting the sack. Like, we've had Sheffield United game, then the West Ham, that was his last chance, so he was going to get sacked. Now it's this one.
There's one in March, Cardiff, you know, remember
Cardiff,
game? There was a lot of speculation that he was had one more chance, and we obviously started that paper over the cracks running.
And you do, I watched Saturday, and I felt like the team lacked ideas of what he wanted as well on Saturday for the first time, probably. I thought the players didn't look like they were playing for him.
Yeah, I mean, Saturday was horrific, wasn't it? It was a terrible performance. It didn't get any better, really. No. They huffed and puffed without any real conviction. I don't know whether you guys thought we'd equalise. I didn't, even though we were pushing it.
No, you know, we're never not going to react.
You were looking and there was no wave after wave and no expectation. And I think that's part of the problem. If you've got, you know, we look before, there's 26 games we've gone behind in, and we've lost 20 or 21 of them and drawn 5. That is a horrific, absolutely awful record to have, because what it means is, if you go behind in a game, effectively, you know you're not winning it. And so for 50% of the games he's been in charge for, and we've gone behind, we know we're not winning. It's, you know, Everton have got we were looking before, we've got the lowest points total of anybody who's gone behind. 17 other clubs have got better records than us are coming from behind. And okay, you don't, there's a stat in the Premier League where something like the team who scores the first goal wins 69% of the time. That's fine. But there's going to be occasions when you go behind and you have to recover from that and teams win. And we've seen Manchester United at the weekend score 3 goals in 7 minutes, only to be pegged back in injury time. But that's the kind of thing Everton just don't do. And
I think for me as well is that he could have helped himself so much more though as well, because he come in, like Andy said before, wanting to play this 4-3-3, this style of football. And he really hasn't stuck to his guns on that. He's got a bit scared and gone back to basics and gone back to the easy formation. And I looked at a few games at the weekend, like I looked at Chelsea, looked at a Sheffield United game. Fair play to them, they stick to the principles and they've got a style of play. Like I looked at Chelsea on Saturday and they give Man City a really, really tough game. And that's with a relatively inexperienced manager as well, in Frank Lampard, with a relatively inexperienced team. I know they've got the odd players who played in title-winning teams for Chelsea, which is always good, but I look at the way we play, and I just don't see a style of play. And I feel like if we could see a style of play, it could give him a bit of time. If we could see that he was trying to play a certain way, that's when it'd probably go more back onto the players. But he hasn't helped himself by playing this 4-2-3-1, playing the Schneiderlins, playing your Sigurdssons, and going back to the same old rubbish, really, where if you're a top manager, you try and solve the problem, get rid of the problem. And I just don't feel like he has with that, unfortunately.
It just hasn't been able to problem solve. You look at the standout performance from Everton this season, that West Ham game, all the pace, all the pressing, the work rate off the ball, the intelligence of the players, really, is to cut off West Ham and go on the front foot. And then you look at the game subsequent, and we've not seen that once. Why? Is that the manager's inconsistency? Does he lose confidence in his own ability? So it goes back to, okay, Gylfi may get me goals, so I'll play him. And Schneiderlin, he's an older, experienced player, he's going to help me. I think it's time for the manager has been backed in recruitment, and the recruitment in the summer was to buy players. I know we've lost Gomez and Gbamin and Bernard for the last couple of weeks. We do it to buy players with 1v1 abilities who could break the lines with the ball at the feet and attack the space with pace, athleticism, Sidibe, Gbamin. And the style of play is not that. It's very pedestrian. We try and control games, which is very Roberto Martinez like. We're not capable of doing that because we haven't got. We don't have any movement ahead of us, so you can't keep the ball because the team's very static. We wait for the ball to go wide, for it to go in the box. And when you've got a midfielders at the moment, so you seen it on Saturday when the press was broken, as weak as ours in the sense of positioning, because Schneiderlin's position was awful on Saturday for that first goal. He didn't get in front of the man at all. The back door's not being shut either. I mean, you're not using players in the right roles. And you look at the team, Gylfi Sigurdsson, what works for Gylfi Sigurdsson, you've tried everything really. It's time to move him on. It's time to play Alex Iwobi in his best position. You should have done that after the West Ham game, a run of games. The manager's quite stubborn as well. He's, in the summer, we bought Moise Kean to be a striker. Then he starts with this right-wing nonsense because after he got criticism at Watford, and then he comes in the midweek and says, he's a right wing. He scored 2 goals at right wing. Okay, he may have played on the right of a front three, but he doesn't play like a wide right person like Richarlison or Walcott does for Everton. That is not a right winger. That is someone who plays as a right forward like Salah does for Liverpool. He's close to the goal. He's the third striker. This is the problem. I think the manager takes criticism. He doesn't take criticism well. And without, João Pedro is a sounding board, I don't think he's got someone there who could have maybe set him right in his ways and said, play Iwobi, drop these players. And I think the problem is as well is that he's held on, because he's got Sigurdsson and Schneiderlin, he's felt not obliged to play them, but he's felt that he can rely on them. He can't. These players need to be moved on. Cenk Tosun should not be back on the team. It was weak management. We're supposed to be playing Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Moise Kean this season, bedding them in, alternating and trying to get them up to speed for next season so they can be better, be developed.
What confidence does that give them to as well?
Well, that's why you've got Mina Raiola's recent stories in the press saying, he could be going away, because he's trying to pressure the manager into playing him. He was only signed for Everton, and people think, why did Juventus didn't want him? He had a year left on his contract. They had to get the money there and then. They knew with Ronaldo and others coming in and Higuain coming back off loan that he wouldn't have a place in the side. So Juventus sold him. You know, Juventus tried to offer Mandzukic, this is the conversation the brand said. He said, actually, what about Moise Keane? Oh, right, yeah. We signed Moise Keane. Marco Silva agreed in the summer, probably after watching that he was a striker. And then ever since he's got here, we just haven't played him. It's the managers. I think he's changed his mind. He's gone. If you ever listen to Gary Neville, when he said he lost confidence in Valencia, he starts playing all sorts of different formations, trying players in different positions. I think the manager lost his confidence a long time ago. And he's just gone back to the same old Everton that got Koeman the sack, made David Unsworth look terrible as well, and it's just not working.
I think even going back to something Ped said the other week about when he brought Tosin back in, like you look at the team now, it's very similar to what it was nearly at the start of last season, and that's quite worrying, 18 months on.
All the players we bought as well.
Well, it's a sign you're panicking when you're just throwing anything and hoping something sticks. I mean, is there a time limit you should give a manager, Steve? Is it unfair to question, and people will talk about a project being 3 years, he needs that. But
the project isn't the manager.
No, but I suppose he's part of it, isn't he? So is there a time limit you should give a manager?
If you can see that, if you can see that there's going to be like progression. Like you look at, I'm not comparing us to Man City, but look at Pep's first season at City, it wasn't exactly great. But everybody could see where they were going to go the season after. Like, I don't feel that really with Marco, really. And again, I don't want to just blame him because it's not just his fault, all this. The players have got to take responsibility as well. And also people above Silva for not getting the right recruitment in the summer and stuff like that as well. But I don't think there is in football these days, Baz, no. I really don't. We've seen Palace, didn't we, a couple of years ago, sacking someone after 3 games. Watford this season after 3 games. It's at the moment, because the amount of money in the game, there's teams who are 8th in the league who are thinking of sacking the manager because they need to be in the top 4. That's the difference now.
That's what football now.
Like Arsenal 7th in the Premier League and they're thinking of sacking the manager. Yeah, because they can see he's not developed that team. From where, are they any better than they were under Wenger? Probably not.
Worse.
Worse, that's right.
So to me, are we any better than we were under Koeman? I don't know. I really don't know. It was bad under Koeman, but the records say it's worse. Doesn't it? So
I think it depends. There's individual situations. Overall, the Premier League every decision is based around money.
Yeah.
So relegation it's basically spoiled in a lot of ways the product of football in this country because people play to stay up and teams decide basically we're not going to win anything. We're just going to play to stay up. So they play poor football. They try and nick results. It makes you watch Man City every week. It's just they defend against everyone's break down 10 defences all the time. And that's the problem. There's no openness to football. You remember back in the 90s, there was quite a lot of good open football. You remember Liverpool, Newcastle, for example. You don't get games like that hardly anymore because everyone's thinking, I'm three losses away from the sack. And managers can't. The problem is managers like Silva, who have been sacked, I think have lost the confidence in the ability to sort of ride through losses. They think they're going to lose the job. With Marco, I think the reason he is getting sacked, and another reason why Unai Emery is getting sacked, is because like when you're building a house, they have failed to put in foundations to take them forward. In that first season Pep had, he started playing his system. He set them up. But he knew that he didn't have the fullbacks to do it, so he went out and spent 150 million on 3 fullbacks. The next season he won the title with a record number of points. And also that year that he spent better in that system, and the players got used to playing that system. And by the next summer, he could introduce all sorts of ideas.
As well,
he developed them.
Sterling.
Yeah, he took that year was the year. Now, Ronald de Boer, what happened there is you go from Sam Allardyce, who plays very basic, sit back, low line, to a manager who's come from Ajax with Ajax principles. That squad could not play that way. No. They realised they made a mistake fairly quickly that squad couldn't handle that.
It's similar to when we went from Moyes to Martinez, really. Very two different styles.
Luckily, that style sort of meshed in that first season, but once Martinez coached out the Moyes element of the defence, the organisation, that was an issue. I think you do need time. I think you do need a season to take stock of things and lay your foundations in. But the problem is, for many clubs, they haven't got that time. If you notice, though, sackings generally, managers don't generally get just 6 months anymore. People are getting a season now. Look at Pellegrini, look at Emery, look at Marco Silva. these managers have had over a season now to try and bed things in, and they're the three most under pressure. It's just not worked. And Pochettino had obviously 5 years before he was let go, and obviously did very well. But I don't know. In terms of, I think there isn't the football isn't dictated now by whether a manager's got time or not. It's dictated by money. Because let's be honest, if West Ham went down this season, they'd be in worlds of trouble because of that stadium.
So would we.
Yeah.
We would be.
Massively.
We would be, but I don't think we're changing the manager because we're going to go down. I think we're changing the manager because he's not right for where we want to go. And I don't think that we're worried about going down. I think we're worried. I don't think we are. I wouldn't be worried. I
know, but I think as a football club, that's your first protocol.
It is.
Because we're trying to get a new stadium. Planning permission is going in within the next 3 or 4 weeks. We have to be in that position where we're almost guaranteed to be in the Premier League going into Bramley-Moore. I think for me, the issue is, and people will know that I have tried to, because I don't want to be sat here doing what I do, calling for the manager to be sacked when we're losing a few games, because I don't want to become one of those people that is just petty in terms of lose a few games, get rid of the manager, because at some stage you're going to lose football games. But I absolutely agree with what you're saying in terms of there's nothing, if someone come in now who didn't know anything about Everton and went, what style do you play? I wouldn't have a clue what to say, because we don't play a mix of football. We have a lot of the ball, but we don't really do. All I would say is we knock it side to side and cross it. Really, that's
very
probably
easy to play against.
Massively easy. There's never anything. There's never any thinking outside the box. No. That's what I'm seeing from this squad. I look at a squad, and I look and think, why are we using Schneiderlin and Tosin, who we wanted to get rid of in the summer? Why is Sigurdsson being out the team and coming back as captain? That's the first. That to me is berserk. Luca Dean's being the captain, so leave him. Don't say, well, Gylfi's higher up the... How can you have someone higher up the pecking order? Your captain has or should be somebody who carries your manager's instructions on the pitch, though. That's what that's what a captain always was. It was someone who mirrors your manager. It was someone who was going to set the example on the pitch. Gylfi Sigurdsson might bang one in from 25 yards, but that's all he does. If he does it. Now, last year he had a good season and he played well when we were playing well. We've needed him this year, right from the first minute of Palace when he missed that sitter.
He was poor in pre-season.
He's been offered. He was terrible in pre-season. Ped said a good thing on the final word about him playing a lot of football in the last couple of years, and he's 30 now. So his legs will naturally slow. And he's played a hell of a lot of football since he was 18, 19. Played for Reading in the Championship, 60 odd games or whatever. Spurs, doesn't ever miss a game
as well.
Plays for Iceland. So he's played a lot of football. There's things like that I look back at the manager. Then when you look at his win ratio, it's like his wins to losses, there's not much between them. No. Really. People can say, I seen someone in a press conference on Friday saying your last 50 games have been much better than the 50 previously when you weren't in charge. Well, that's fine, but in the previous one when he wasn't in charge, we had 3 managers. We had Koeman, Allardyce and Unsworth.
Who all were removed.
Who were all sacked. Well, Unsworth wasn't sacked, Unsworth stepped aside, but the other two were chased. So, of course, you would hope his 50-game record would be better, wouldn't you? So that isn't really anything to think him with. But listen, the arguments to keep him would have been he's been a bit unlucky with injuries. He's lost his first choice centre midfield, really, hasn't he? Gbamin and Gomez. Garner's gone as well, so he's down on there. He obviously wanted to keep Zuma, and Zuma didn't stay. We've been unlucky with VAR decisions. The FA of the Premier League have said Everton should have another 5 points than what they've got. That 5 points puts us 5th. So we could. But if you strip that away and go, well, my auntie had balls, she'd be my uncle. We are where we are. We've got 14 points. It's the performances. It's if you look at it, and what the people who were critical of him will say is, but you're 18 months on almost. There's no progression really. Spent 200 odd million in the last 2 seasons. You're getting beat by a team that's awful awful at any time. Norwich at the weekend. No clear plan. Don't come back when you go a goal behind.
And that's what it was like when obviously Martinez had that first good season for Everton and he had 2 really bad ones. I think people give him time because obviously the lack of money they had to spend. And the money
And he come across better, didn't he?
And the money side's a big factor now, how much we've spent. Everyone's starting to notice it now.
Well, that's it.
The tabloids, the other fans of other teams are going, oh, bloody hell, Everton have spent a lot of money.
But we'd laugh our heads off at West Ham or Newcastle
I
or
said
Liverpool or whatever.
In April 2015, Everton are going to spend 400 million in the next 4 years. They're not going to get any better than Sam Allardyce will be an ex-manager.
Yeah.
You'd laugh your head off.
You'd laugh.
That's what I mean. That's another side of it. The money they've spent and wasted, and I just think I still don't feel like we've recovered from past regimes.
No, that's a part of it. But
and that's another thing. I feel sorry for him in relation to that because he's picked up probably one of the worst squads that we've had in a long time. Agent squad full of slow players, full of players who aren't here for the right reasons.
But I would temper that with, in my opinion, we've got one of the most talented squads we've had.
Yeah.
But not a team, poor team. Talent, but poor team.
We've recruited, though, for a style that he spoke to Brands about. We've looked at players. Marco Silva, when he was at Olympiacos, when he was at Sporting Lisbon and other clubs, played fast transitions, counter-attacking football, win the ball back, on the front foot, you run fast. Ever since he came to Everton, Gylfi Sigurdsson's played a lot of games, cannot play a fast transition game. It's too slow. He's not picked sides, and he hasn't used the players who's available to him to play his way. He can't complain. No. And he also, another thing, he's got him and Marcel Brands used to work together. Marcel Brands bought Moise Keane to develop, to play games. You can't turn to Cenk Tosun.
No.
That's not going to be the project will never work.
No.
You'll end up with depreciating assets sitting on the bench. You need someone who's not afraid to play young players, who's there to develop. Look at Pochettino. Develop young players on the fly while he also had good players who did things. You need to do that. You can't just turn back to Cenk Tosun, who the club have tried to sell 3 times.
Schneiderlin as well.
Turning back to those players says a lot to other players in the squad as well. Look at, as I said off camera before, look at the example. Klopp got rid of Mamadou Sakho after he laughed at him on camera straight away because he couldn't take that in front of the squad. Not for me. Get rid of him. Ruthlessness. This man is not ruthless. Gylfi Sigurdsson should not be in the team as captain. If you're ruthless, Alex Iwobi plays next 10 games. And maybe if he has 10 bad games, then you go back, maybe. That's on form. You don't just turn back just because you don't get 1 or 2 results your way. You've got to stick to his plan. Yeah. He's tried to jump from time. It's just not working. And
no.
If you're gonna invest this money and you're buying these type of players for a specific system, get a manager who can play that system. Don't have a manager flip-flopping all the time and changing his mind over whether what he is and what he isn't, because it just won't work. We invested all that money in. Sadibi only got on the team 3 weeks ago, and Coleman's been finished for months. You can watch it. Great graces of players he's been for Everton. You shouldn't just hold on because he's played for Everton for years. There shouldn't be a hierarchy of experienced players who deserve to play just because of their age or how much they cost.
That's why he didn't. He did that last season, and he took Baines out pretty early as well. So
he couldn't hide it anymore.
That's what I'm just saying. That's what I thought he was going to do with Coleman this season.
Be honest, Baines will probably play better than some of the players are now. He played in defensive midfield. He put more of a shift than Schneider.
Yeah.
I mean, supposed to finish then. Is he a big enough manager to have managed Everton Football Club?
No.
Not in my opinion, no. I think I've said to you off camera as well before, he should never have been Everton manager, Baz. It was just a shocking appointment, and the last 3 have been, if he goes, have been poor. Just not big enough and not strong enough as Everton managers. I know Koeman had a big personality, but we all know what he was like as a person. Martinez, it's a toss-up between him. They're just not good enough. They're not good enough for where we want to go and who we're going to be working with and the type of players we're working with. If we want to be this big club that we say we're going to be and fighting for titles, fighting for leagues that the board say we're going to be doing in this big shiny stadium, start doing it properly. And we haven't done, unfortunately.
Just to finish then, and what kind of manager do we need then next?
Well, you need a strong personality, because I think with the transition of the squad, it's pretty obvious that there's still elements of the squad that need basically telling what to do and where to go. That's part of it. You also need someone tactically astute, someone who believes in the principles, someone who's not afraid, though, to change, but not go away from their principles. So I'm not saying you have to change completely, but if you're losing games, you don't just continue with the same failing system. You go to basics, you build the foundations again and work out again. That and also someone who's not afraid to play and develop young players. Everton need to be a side that have sellable assets. When we bought all those players in 2016, your Classens, they're all depreciating assets. Everton can't afford that. We need players to sustain our buying ability. Our last 3 big money seasons have been John Stones being sold, being Romelu Lukaku, and obviously we sold Garner and others in the summer. We are required to sell players, and we need to be able to do that. And the manager needs to be able to play these players to get them better. So if we need to sell them, say with the under 23s, then players need to be developed, need to be made better so they can be sold on. That's the thing the club needs to do. So the manager needs to be fearless, he needs to have a big presence, and he needs to be tactically astute. Whether, that in the interim, we've talked about it on the final word, whether it's David Moyes, whether it's him or interim and maybe long term if he does well, whatever. If you're looking at the summer, you need to pick the right. This is a really important appointment. We're 2 years into Brands. Brands needs to have a big say in who we pick because it's got to be a manager he believes is going to carry out his process. If we don't, then it's going to be another waste of 4 years and you'll be getting rid of the Brands and getting another director of football, and then it's just be a cycle. And eventually it's going to catch up to us one day. It's going to catch up to us, all these bad decisions. Just will do.
We need to get our identity back as well. We've lost it.
It's no Everton way anymore. You've got no.
What are we as a club now? Like?
We're chasing money.
Garbage.
It's not good.
Garbage.
There you go. Let us know in the comments section below. Is it the right time to remove Marco Silva? Is there a time scale that a manager should be given? Let us know in the comments section below who you want as the manager. Big thanks to Steve. Big thanks to Andy. See you later.